The Kirawa still managed a healthy passage into Newcastle Harbour despite its weighty catch. At around noon today, Captain Dominic Bagnato hauled in his nets to find more than the usual gemfish and silver dory. What greeted him was a 4-metre bronze whaler, estimated to be more than 600 kilograms. A big catch, he said, but too tough to eat. The shark was caught about 50 kilometres out from Newcastle on the continental shelf. It seems from this evidence that its last meal was eel. Although this shark is big, it can't be recorded as a record of any kind because it was caught in a net and not on a fishing line.
But in some cases it's used directly as an additive to phosphate.
I believe that the submarines will be built in Newcastle, and I've just come back from 2 weeks overseas seeing the overseas builders, and I'm more than ever convinced that that will take place whether I'm here or not.
Well, surely you must have some regrets then, leaving it all after all the work you've put in.
Yes, indeed. I have a number of regrets, and particularly in relation to both the State Dockyard and the submarine project, is that I won't be here to see all these good things happen. Taking the State Dockyard, the groundwork has been set to move from fairly drastic times at the moment into very much better times. Our marketing exercises that we've put in place are now showing signs of playing off. We're installing new equipment there at the moment, which will come on stream in the next month or two, which is a tremendous value as far as Australian industry is concerned. It's coming on stream at a time when Australian industry needs this sort of thing. So I've every confidence that I'm not leaving behind a lame duck, and as I say, I will regret not being here when the better things happen.
NBN will be responsible for the construction of the carriage bodies and subcontracting work to other companies for the manufacture of seats, air conditioning, windows and some electrical equipment. NBN will also negotiate subcontracts with Client Engineering in Sydney for the manufacture of motor bogies and traction motors, while ComEng, also in Sydney, will produce the trailer bogies. Chief General Manager of NBN, John Fitzgerald, says the contract is good news for the Broadmeadow firm and will ensure ongoing work for at least the next 8 or 9 years.
Will the major part of the contract come to Broadmeadow, or will there be other parts of it farmed out, say to Lansdowne up in Torres?
It's not entirely clear yet, but certainly we would understand the major part we've done at Broadmeadow, as we traditionally do now. There will be some work also to our Taree division of Lands and Engineering.
Will there be any spin-offs for other manufacturing projects in the future from this Tangara project?
Yes, we believe so. The submarine project, which you're aware we are very interested in, has technology, sophistication required in that, similar to some of the aspects of Tangara. In fact, there are some people that will be supplying technology for Tangara that could very well be the same sort of company supplying technology in the submarine contract.
And of course any possible export markets.
Later this year we will be presenting our Tangara concept in double-deck car presentation to the Chinese at a trade mission to Guangdong, the sister city to New South Wales. And we have several expert people from here will be going to China, where the Chinese have expressed an interest in double-deck car technology and what they have seen operating in New South Wales, and we're hopeful we can maintain that interest and possibly do some work with them.
The Minister for Public Works, Laurie Brereton, said the scheme was being seriously considered by the state government when he opened 2 new facilities on the Central Coast today. Tuggerah Lake's boat ramp at Picnic Point is part of the state government's $75 million waterways program. Work on the new ramp, which includes 2 lanes, a boarding jetty and parking for 60 cars and trailers, was carried out by the Wyong Shire Council. The Minister assured all boating enthusiasts that the new facility would alleviate congestion in the channel. And on the topic of congestion, the hazardous sand build-up of the entrance channel has caused problems with access into and out of Tuggerah Lake for years. But the proposal by the Wyong Shire Council for a sand pumping system to keep the channel entrance permanently opened is now being closely investigated. If accepted by the state government, the project would be a testing ground for other state waterways, now suffering the same problem. Environmental Officer John Bell.
This system, because of its relatively low cost, if it is effective in keeping a channel open in this situation, it will have application for a number of other coastal lagoon entrances along the New South Wales coast, and so may not only result in a cost saving in the Wyong Shire, but also the whole way along the coast.
Travelling further south, Mr Brereton then opened the new railway overbridge at Tuggerah. The old level crossing, now closed, was described by the Minister as dangerous and was the cause of lengthy delays for motorists. But the attention was shared around for the historic opening among some of the youngest and oldest residents of the area. Celebrating their 68th year of marriage, Jim and Ivy Bridge helped Mr Brereton to perform his duty as the Minister for Roads. The bridge will provide a direct link from the freeway to the Central Coast, speeding up travelling time for motorists. This year alone, the state government plans to spend $1,000 million on a state road improvement program, and millions of that will be coming to the Central Coast.
Several tens of millions of dollars of that money are coming to the Central Coast. Indeed, it's fair to say that by the development of the Central Coast Road Improvement Program, which we announced a little over a year ago, we've targeted this area as one of our principal priorities for the state. Clearly there's a lot to be done. The opening of this new bridge today is one more vital step.
Marjorie, an 040 class saddle tank steam locomotive, has been meticulously restored by volunteers from the Richmond Vale Steam Preservation Society over the last 4 years. Up until 1972 it was a shunting locomotive at Leichhardt's in Newcastle. The Mayor of Cessnock's wife, Joan Williams, performed the recommissioning ceremony despite a stubborn champagne bottle. Mrs Williams' father originally drove Marjorie when she was in service at Leichhardt's. The loco then tested a new stretch of track, also built by volunteers, which will eventually run 6 kilometres along Mulbring Road towards Pelham and Weston. It was then to the newly set up museum to officially commemorate the proving of the bridge coal seams, the work of Sir T.W. Edgeworth David and the foundations of the Cessnock area.
The meeting of residents is now a regular occurrence, but each week the chances of blocking the project are becoming slimmer. Yesterday the residents were told there was no legal avenue left to fight the development because of a change in an interim development order on the land. So the concerned residents are going to take their case into thousands of lounge rooms in the Hunter through a paid television advertising campaign.
After we've been on TV, after the people write in and support us in their thousands, and we believe we can get anything up to 60, 80,000 people to support us, we'll then take that down to the government and say, how can you ignore that many people in this area? And you've got to do something about it.
Tenders for Stage 1 of the 2-building complex will be called this month, while Stage 2 should follow in November this year. Newcastle architects Rod and Hay Associates have designed a complex which will house TUNRA, the university's existing research group, plus electronic workshops, test rigs, computing facilities and laboratories. A director of the centre is yet to be appointed, but Professor Alan Roberts, a member of the interim board, says the centre will provide a boost to high-tech industries.
One of those is quality assurance management, and this is a facility to provide backup services to industry to improve the quality control of products. The other important development, of course, will be in the area of CAD/CAM, or computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing.
The federal government has allocated $5 million to establish the centre, and while the state government will also provide $300,000 each year until 1989, the centre must be self-sufficient within 5 years.
I see no problem. It's just a matter of good management, and I think that's one of the functions of the centre, to not only provide a service but also to, by illustration, provide an effective management operation for itself.
It's enough to make most car enthusiasts envious. Rows of meticulously restored and painted hot rods and custom cars. Along with Australia's best street and hot rods, the show also features classic cars, panel vans, motorcycles, dragsters and a host of trade stands. The organisers boast that this year's is the best show the club has staged, and indeed it boasts a host of state and national champion cars from as far afield as Victoria and Queensland. One car that turned many heads today was the one-off hand-built XB Falcon hardtop worth $35,000, which is the show's centrepiece. There are many highlights though, and indeed many of the stands are an attraction in themselves. The organisers are hoping for more than 15,000 people through the gates at the Farmers and Graziers Woolshed in Wickham over the 2 days that the show is on. And it would seem that almost all tastes have been catered for. The show is open until 10 p.m. tonight, and then it reopens all day tomorrow from 9 in the morning.
Just after 10 o'clock this morning, Ray Pateman of Cessnock was driving this rubber-tyred monster working on the reconstruction of the Curry to Mulberry Road. The gravel shoulder had been softened by the recent rain, and Ray must have ventured too close to the edge. The machine toppled over and the cabin was crushed to seat height, with Ray's right leg protruding out of the rear window. If one can refer to a person in such a predicament as lucky, it was for Ray that the roller's water ballast tanks were empty. Had they been full, an extra 10 tonnes would have been bearing down on him. For several hours, rescue teams laboured at the scene before successfully lifting the vehicle with pneumatic bags and using hydraulic jaws to stretch the window partially open again. Nearly 3 hours after the accident occurred, the driver and employee of a contractor to the Road Building Authority was finally extricated. Only then, the ambulanceman attended his crushed leg, which had several fractures. A bleeding bump on the forehead appeared to be his only other injury. He was whisked off to hospital for further treatment, while the crane driver, who'd been on standby throughout the rescue, was left to recover the roller. In almost an anticlimax, the crane easily lifted the machine and bobbed it gently back onto the roadway to await the arrival of a low loader.
The hearing of charges against Panicelli was adjourned today in Wyong Court. He's been granted bail and will reappear on the 21st of August. Yesterday, 2 police from the Drug Law Enforcement Bureau and 3 from the Criminal Investigation Branch at Woy Woy raided the property at Buckety after being tipped off on the whereabouts of the marijuana plantation. Police arrested Panicelli and allege his partner escaped into bushland while shooting at the police officers.
The search continued today and involved 2 special weapons operations squads from Sydney, along with tracker dogs. But shortly before lunch, the search was called off.
Detective Inspector Don Stevens from the Drug Law Enforcement Bureau says the plantation was well established. The men had enough supplies to allow them to hide in the bush for up to 3 months.
We intend to continue patrols in the area, visit housing, people in the houses to see if they've seen anything suspicious, and we'll make a decision in a couple of days' time as to what we'll do in respect to those patrols.
Do you believe this fellow is dangerous?
Yes, we certainly do. He has fired at police on at least 2 occasions, and he has stated his intentions of shooting it out with police if there is an attempt made to apprehend him.
Going into last night's match at the Wollongong Showground, both sides needed a win to keep them in the running for semi-final spots. With a cluster of teams at the centre of the table, a win could mean jumping up many places or a loss sliding down. Newcastle went into the clash in 7th spot, while Wollongong was holding down 4th. In the first half, the sides were evenly pitched, and the score was 0-0 at half-time. Newcastle cracked the deadlock in the 56th minute through midfielder Ralph Mayer. Then, minutes later, John Macquarie also found the back of the net. Wollongong's Pat Brodnick got one back, but in the 88th and 89th minutes, one of Newcastle's outstanding attackers, Mark Jones, slammed 2 in to put the result beyond doubt. The win puts Newcastle just 5 points away from leader Sydney Olympic, with 5 rounds remaining. This weekend, the locals play Marconi at Adamstown Oval on Saturday night, but with just 2 points separating 5th and 9th spots, Rosebud still needs wins to be assured of that vital semi-final spot. It was a perfect day at the Steelworks Golf Club at Shortland to wrap up the 4-day event. The tournament started on Monday and has been played at various courses since then. The final round was the 18-hole Steelworks Pro-Am, and it was Sydney golfer Brad Saunders who took the money in that event with a 2-under par 69. Colin Bishop from the Central Coast was not far off the pace yesterday and carded a round of 70. But in the main event, the 72-hole Hunter Pro-Am, Terry Perfumant from the Sydney PGA won the money after an even performance over the 4 days. Perfumant carded 292, which is 4 over par. Next on the scoreboard was Ken Trimble from Concord in Sydney, 1 stroke behind. And then came David Sheether, also from the Sydney PGA, a further stroke behind him.
Over.
The hectic round of activities came to an end today in Hunter Region schools for the end of Education Week, with both teachers, pupils and the Department of Education declaring it a complete success.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
The Logistics Centre or Mobile Field Service Unit is unique in Australia. Up until now, the units have been attached to trucks, which meant that if the truck broke down, the unit was also stranded. With the use of hydraulics, which lifts the unit clear of the truck and then lowers it to the ground, this problem is eliminated. The units are made of 2 aluminium sheets with polyurethane in between. This creates a radio frequency interference shield. Each unit will be fitted out for one of 17 different purposes, and if the State dockyard is successful, it will be the first time the dockyard has developed a product range.
We're reasonably confident. We believe we've got the best design.
Why is that? What makes it better than the others?
We've got the assistance of Dornier from West Germany, who we're under licence to manufacture this particular shelter. We believe that their technology being transferred to us will give us the edge on any other competitor.
If the State dockyard does gain the contract, it will know in about 6 months' time, after the Army has tested and trialled this unit as well as 2 others from competing Australian companies. Today was also the last day for the dockyard's General Manager, Jim Kelly. After 4 years in Newcastle, Mr Kelly is taking up a position as General Manager of the Nauru Phosphate Mine. But what does he see as his greatest achievement during his time here?
A major achievement has been getting the people side of the dockyard running much more smoothly than it was when I came here. We had a total we-they situation. Now we have pretty good communications and much better understandings. I think that's been a big plus.
Competitors hit the dirt for this year's Matara Rally. The event is organised by the Newcastle Sporting Car Club, and although it is not a round of any championship, each year attracts some of the fastest drivers from the Hunter and Central Coast. The opening stage in the Wallaroo State Forest indicated the pace will be fierce. The fastest times were set by John Dean in a Lancer, 2GO Rally Director Ron Kremen in a Datsun 1600, and Jack Whiteman in his similar car. Those three are expected to fight out the event as they wind north through State Forest tonight and finish in Bulahdelah around midnight.